Folks, if there's one thing about Spoilerin time you need to understand, it's that it's not Cordkillers. Cordkillers is where we talk about devices, we talk about services, we talk about the things you need to know to be able to watch stuff. Because in this crazy world of technology in which we live, you've got to know that stuff. It's not as easy as it used to be. There's not just 3 channels and you turn on the tube TV in black and white and there they are, Ozzy and Harriet. No, it's different. So that's why we have Cordkillers. But then at the end of the day, what you do want to do is sit back on your 4K TV, turn on HBO, and watch the latest amazing thing. Or maybe it's from Netflix. And that's what Spoilerin time is about. On today's episode, we are going to spoil episode 6 of season 4 of Justified. That's our rewind. We watch old shows. Then we're going to talk about Westworld and its most recent episode 8 of season 1. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian Brushwood.
Yeah.
Back.
Hey, man, if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is after a hard day of trying to watch what you want, when you want, on whatever device you want, what you want to do is kick back and watch those things that you spent all day trying to do, right?
And if it's now, when I want.
All right, but first, let's check out the movie draft. Oh, Tom.
Yes,
Brian.
Fantastic Domestic Gross. Where to find it?
Not in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. At least not if you're Christy Cates, who spent $60. 2/3 of her whole purse went to this one movie. Keep in mind, only one other person has done the same. Justin spent $60 on Doctor Strange, sitting pretty at $181 million. Not pretty enough for Justin, though. It's looking like he's going to have a tough time. Christy, $60, and granted it's only 1 week, but $74 million. Do you think Fantastic Beasts will get anywhere near Doctor Strange money?
Normally, you look at the opening weekend and you say it's not going to make double, certainly not triple. So let's be generous and triple 75. That's 225. It's probably not going to hit 225. If it were to hit 225, then I think it might arguably be worth $60, right? But 74 doesn't seem to be a hot enough opening to say it'll triple its opening weekend with its full domestic gross, except for the Thanksgiving weekend effect. I mean, we're talking about U.S. domestic gross. A lot of people are going to go out to see the movies, but then it's going to have to compete with Moana, with Bad Santa 2 and Allied, but mostly with Moana.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, think about the demographic who's likely to go see Fantastic Beasts. And keep in mind also, it's a bit off-brand for it to be a Wizarding World movie that's... well, I guess some of them were PG-13 near the end, right?
The Harry Potter series? The last couple were, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, but still, you think of that demographic, and I got to think a brand new Disney drop, especially with the positive buzz that you're seeing around Moana, I would imagine.
And Malango only paid $40 for Moana.
Yeah. Well, again, who knows? Maybe she'll make it all up in, what else does she have?
And honestly, I think it has a good chance of doubling its money, hitting $150 million, which would actually put it within striking distance of Doctor Strange.
But also realize the only other movie Christy has is The Comedian. After this, it's only The Comedian, and she's sitting at $130 million. I don't even think she'll catch Justin's.
Oh, right, because she already had Jack Reacher at $56 million.
Yeah, so that's problematic.
Hey, she's number 2 right now.
She is. Enjoy it. Enjoy the red ribbon. Meanwhile,
and we should mention Malango has Moana, as we said. Mikey, Movie League Mikey on movies. Mikey has Bad Santa 2, and Justin has Allied.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to see from Allied. I don't know how much longer Justin will be reigning champ. Mikey, I forgot his whole slate. He's got Bad Santa 2, Assassin's Creed, Why Him, Live By. Yeah, I don't know. He's got a decent chunk, including the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah, his next movie isn't till Assassin's Creed, so he's not going to make a leap with Bad Santa 2, but it'll put him on the board.
Man,
right?
A lot of just sitting around waiting to see what happens. Interesting.
Speaking of... Should we move on to Westworld?
Tom.
All right, so actually, I had a hard time last week because I am enjoying the mystery. This is like The Leftovers to me. I don't give a crap about, like, are there real answers? I'm enjoying trying to figure it out. And so you coming at it with this other problem of I don't care about the characters, I didn't know how to maneuver into that. But I think what is interesting about this is we have these entirely different ways of approaching this show, and can have two different experiences about them. So this episode for me was fine. It was good because I got a little bit more about Bernard. I got a little bit more about Ford. I got a lot more about Maeve, and we got to see like the training ground where Dolores and Maeve were actually probably for the first time being tutored. And we resolved the girl at the beginning with Billy, definitely an android, because she shows up in period gear with the Man in Black. We also got details on the Man in Black and why he has done what he's done. So for me, it was like, oh, more pieces to the puzzle. I'm enjoying putting together this jigsaw puzzle. Brian, you're still sitting back going, why do I care about this landscape puzzle that you're putting together?
No, there's a few questions that I have that I'm coming to grips with the fact that they're just never going to explain to me why Felix and Sylvester just keep doing anything Maeve wants for no apparent reason. And
by the way, yesterday while sitting watching Westworld, Eileen turns to me and goes, "This is a really weak storyline. I don't get why they're doing this."
Yes.
So you're not alone.
Well, and plus also they're all like, "I don't want to do it. We're not going to do it." And she's like, "Yes, you will." And I keep waiting. I'm like, "Oh, good." Because clearly the next half of this sentence has to be, "or I'll blank." But instead she goes, "Oh, yes, you will." And then they go, "Well, I guess we will." She said so. Chuck E. Cheese, the robot, told us what we have to do. I guess we have to do it. I mean, I don't understand anyone's motivation in this. I think I understand William's motivation in that he wants to not be bullied anymore, and that's about it. I asked on Twitter, I ended up rewatching that section of the Phantom Menace movie review. In the first part, he asks, who's the protagonist of the Phantom Menace? He says it's not Anakin. He shows up 40 minutes into the movie, clearly has no clue what he's doing. It's not Obi-Wan, who spends the entire movie sitting on the ship. It's not Qui-Gon, who's whatever. I don't know who the protagonist of this is. And I asked people on Twitter, half of them said Dolores, which I don't think it can be because she doesn't change and I don't understand her motivation or what she wants to do. And it can't be the Man in Black because I know even less about him. All we know is that he's playing a video game and I guess is evil but not evil. I don't really get it. We did get some more talk about the outside world. We got this weird, "Oh yeah, by the way, you all have bombs implanted in your spines," because that seems like a good way to. I mean, it seems like maybe, I don't know, software could keep them inside the building.
Maybe it's a corrosive charge, not an explosive charge.
Well, they definitely said bomb, right?
Well, right. No, that's still a bomb.
It could be a small bomb. You have a small bomb on your spine.
Sure. Then
just enough to destroy their ability to walk, talk, and move around.
Sure. And I get that we're seeing Maeve get more power, but it would have been great to see her do something with it besides a test flight. Like we get it. The moment she told someone, "You think this," and then they started doing it, that's all we needed. We didn't need to see that 5 more times to no significant consequence.
I actually enjoyed seeing it 5 more times.
Well, sure, but nothing changed afterwards. It's like,
well, she's on the run. She didn't end up somewhere else, right? That was kind of the end of her part of the episode.
Sure. Somebody was saying on Twitter, it's like, "Brian, come on, you can't rush these things. You gotta give time for Dolores to set up her arc." And I'm like, dude, there's only 2 episodes left this season. How long am I supposed to give her to get ready, to get started, to possibly explain? I don't.
Okay. I think you've got total valid concerns. I would say bringing up the Phantom Menace is a little bit like Godwin's Law.
Okay, but I will say,
you're throwing down the Hitler card, and I don't think Westworld is comparable to Nazi Germany at this point.
But structurally, it has a very similar problem.
I don't think that's helpful. But I get that you're like, these character arcs are not compelling to me. All I could do is say, I totally agree that this has moved really slow. I totally agree that they hid a lot of things that explain what's going on early on. But what changed for me, which never changed for you, it sounds like, was that I started to enjoy the puzzle pieces. I started to see Ford as a protagonist, as like, okay, Ford's got a game going on. And there's a timeline shift here that I'm having fun trying to figure out. Is William the Man in Black? Is he not? And we got a big clue about that this week when we see that Dolores remembers the town before it was buried. William is looking at the town while it's buried. And earlier, in an earlier episode, Ford said something about digging up an old town for his new storyline. So that might indicate that what William is experiencing is happening before Ford has started his construction project, right? And we also have Dolores having a memory and having a compulsion, having something from Arnold. And I want to find out what Arnold is and why he died. And Dolores is the key to that. So that's what is fun for me about this show, is trying to put those pieces together. And that's why the Man in Black to me is like, is he William? And what is his relationship to Arnold and Ford? And we finally started to get a hint that it's more than just they're the creators of the game that I want to unlock, and more of a personal situation here. And we got something about Arnold through Bernard and Ford. Arnold wanted to see the androids as more than human, and Ford is someone who says, no, they cannot ever be considered the same. And so that's very interesting. Was Arnold transferred into a consciousness, and does Ford control the awareness? Because as we saw, Bernard could be made to forget things. Maybe Bernard is Arnold's consciousness. I don't know. And in the end, the underpinning of this whole story is the androids don't forget as well as everyone thought, and memories are starting to come back. And it was really fun for me when Bernard had that flash of killing Elsie, because A, it resolved that mystery of like, oh, well, okay, Bernard was sent to kill Elsie. B, it shows that Ford is lying directly to him when he says, I've never made you do this before. And C, Bernard is starting to remember things that he is not supposed to be able to remember.
Yes. On the flip side, it's as though they took all of the elements that were key in making Game of Thrones a success and somehow took the wind out of all of them. Somehow they're able to have more nudity than Game of Thrones and yet make it the least appealing nudity I've ever seen on HBO.
I think that's on purpose. Yeah. No, I in fact, that hit me yesterday, was like, I am not noticing the nudity like I did the first few episodes, because they've entirely desexualized it when we're behind the scenes.
Right. And then they've also managed to figure out a way to have massive set pieces that literally mean nothing. Like we talked about last episode with that, big fight between the ghost guys and the Confederate dudes. It was just watching animatronics do a scripted routine for the 12 billionth time. And as a result, it's I want there to be stakes, and it's like the nature of the show. So far we've seen one human death. We almost saw maybe a second human death when Maeve slashes a throat. But then it's like, oh, golly, better use the fix-it plot device, Ray, to zip, zap, zoop. Oh, you've got magically healed skin again. The more that they do that, the more the show feels like it's made of rubber and that nothing has any consequences. And if I find myself not even wanting to invest in a character, knowing that at a literal push of a button, they could become somebody totally different for no apparent reasons. And that's so frustrating. It's very, very tedious and taxing.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I'm really glad I'm not watching that show, because that's not how I experience it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I know, and it's really interesting to me why that is, because when I see the Ghost Confederate battle, I don't see a set piece that is repeated over and over and over. I see something that seems to be off the stage. And I wonder, like, is this ever happened before? And is this like a park defense mechanism to keep them through those uncharted territories that they're not supposed to be in, which they end up being in the town that has been buried, probably buried for a reason. So again, I'm approaching all of this as a puzzle to unlock, and that's been enjoyable for me anyway.
Yeah. I could go along for those journeys if I feel like there's something really great waiting for me on the other side. And I've not been sold anything. They haven't even told me. Have they alluded to what's at the center of the maze, or why anyone's even looking for it, or why even the Man in Black is motivated to find it?
Well, yeah, the Man in Black has dropped lots of hints about, wanting to find the center of the maze because that's where the game gets real. That's where the truth of what goes on here happens. And that's where Arnold's secret plan for what this all really means is. And I want to unlock that. I want to find that. It's a MacGuffin, certainly. But it's fun to be like, all right, what is that mystery? What is at the center of the maze? Sometimes you just go to see what's there. And then this week he gave a little more about the fact that it seems like he wants to play with the safeties off, right? He's like, yeah, I come here a lot and I can't be hurt. And we've seen that he's really disdainful of the fact that he can't be hurt. And it feels like he wants to push through to find characters in this world who are more interesting and have more depth.
And that makes two of us.
than exist in the introductory segments. He's pushing to unlock the secret part of the park, and to me that feels to me more like people looking for the secret places at Disney World than anything else.
Well, and again, that just reduces the stakes, right? This guy's playing
Well, it doesn't reduce the stakes if it's like, and there the androids could kill me because I've found Arnold's secret. Like, it's a dangerous secret. Nobody wants him to get to it.
I guess. So it's like he's trying to get, so I should be rooting for him to get there so he can maybe.
I see. I find the idea that I don't know exactly who to root for from one time to the other interesting. Like, the Man in Black is very obviously supposed to be somebody I'm cheering against.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
Hey, but he's also shooting androids. Are they really real? That's an interesting plot. Like, maybe I should have sympathy for these machines that have a sense of self-awareness.
You know what? Here's what it's like. It's like tuning into the last game of the World Series in two different worlds. In one, you have been told the story of the Cubs and the curse and their inability to win and the exciting developments that go into it.
Spoiler to anybody who hasn't seen the World
Yes,
Series.
exactly. And this build up to this momentous, historic thing. And then you watch the game. The game is identically the same as if you had never heard of baseball before. I guess you loosely know the rules, and then you show up, you're like, I don't know, there's some dudes in blue, some dudes in red, and I guess one of these guys should beat the other. Like, you can have the exact same set of events, but by properly contextualizing them, you can all of a sudden make me really care. And I feel like I've tuned in to the World Series, not without anybody bothering to have told me any of the stories of why I should care about any of these characters. And yeah, yes, you could watch the end of the World Series and say, well, I'm just really into this puzzle. Why should the blue guys win? And it's like, or maybe you could tell the story more effectively.
That's not what I sound like, Brian.
That's sorry. It's not you. It's you from an alternate dimension. But my point is everything could be the same. But I agree. You don't need to be spoon-fed everything. But I do feel like stuff should be contextualized if what you want to do is get people along for the ride.
Yeah, and it's just a difference of reaction to the amount of information we've been given. And again, that was a big problem for me the first 3 or 4 episodes. And I think what has sucked me in is they've said, hey, guess what? We know we didn't give you any information, but now we're starting to. And I'm like, all right, let me see if I can figure it out in reverse. And you're saying, yeah, but that's not enough information, and it's not enough to make me care about finding out the rest of it.
Well, and you are correct, Tom, in that I shouldn't. I am frustrated that they've taken so long to do the right thing in terms of giving us, some kind of context. But whether it took us, I may argue that 8 episodes out of 10 is awfully late to start. But at the end of the day, they are giving me what we've been craving for the most part. I still don't understand why half the people do the things they do, but they're still moving in the right direction.
We got an email from Ron who said, just a thought regarding HBO's Westworld. I don't remember hearing anyone mention about this sequel called Future World. The first movie premise is that the robots self-realize they are being controlled by humans and revolt. In the sequel, they acknowledge this as the fail point, and now the version 2.0 park uses robots as the controllers in the control room. The intent is that the show hosts won't create an uprising feeling controlled by a higher being. I'm seeing bits and pieces of this show up in the current version of the show, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
I believe it. So let's say you find out next episode that they're all robots. On a scale of 1 to brain explosion, how wowed are you?
To me, it all depends. It's all in the telling. If they all end up being robots, even Ford, it'll be, why did that happen? Was it Arnold? Why did Arnold do that? This is part of the puzzle, is how many of them are robots and why? And is there a difference? And I think that's one of the essential things that fascinates me about this, that definitely does not fascinate you, is what is the difference between a self-aware humanoid robot and a human being? Is this slavery, or are these just NPCs?
I mean, it's tough because the only thing we have to go on is what they tell us in the exposition, and we only have that to Well,
I think for that particular question, we've been given loads of material where the robots can remember, the hosts can remember things, which is being suppressed. So there's memory there. We got a big piece of it with Maeve, where Maeve overrode her programming to protect her daughter because she had developed enough of a sense of protectionism to do that. And then that was wiped. They tried to wipe that out of her, and it's reasserting herself. And then we saw that Bernard is able to feel emotions at a high level. And when he's aware that he is a host, doesn't understand how he's able to feel them, which is an emergent property of AI that a lot of people have talked about as a significant Turing event. So to me, that they're giving us loads of pieces about whether these are sentient beings or not.
Right on.
I'm just going to make you repeat yourself, right?
Yeah, no, that I've reached the end of my loop.
Well, and that's one of the IO9 things today is the idea that, like, hey, it's trying to show that we're all in loops all the time. They even come out right away and say that. Let's move along to Justified, episode 6, season 4, wherein Raylan is still searching for the footless Josiah, who got away, and he starts by going after the girl from the pair that almost shot him a while back with Patton Oswalt. It's called Foot Chase, by the way.
We got kind of a heavy-handed, showing of what a bad guy his veteran friend was, because he's freebasing in the bathroom and chasing people down, saying, "I need heroin, get me heroin," and all that stuff. So we have an unstable element growing there. It did appear that the sheriff. I know yesterday or last week when we talked about it, you were saying like he felt to you like he just wanted to get more leverage on Boyd, but it's kind of sounded to me like there was some true believer in him when he was arresting Boyd, and when he was, it sounded like he wanted to be a sheriff, not a Walmart greeter who is a lackey turned sheriff.
Well, and they gave us more of his backstory about his involvement in law enforcement. Up to now, they sort of lead you to believe he was just a nobody that Boyd picked up and said, "You could be sheriff."
Well, they said that at the time.
He had a lot more experience at this than we thought.
Yeah, they had indicated that he had a law enforcement background
but
during that time. But
it was kind of vague what that meant.
Right. But at any rate, it looks to me like he actually wants to, do the right thing here, regardless of how he got in the position. What'd you think of that end scene with the proposal to Ava?
It was heartwarming, brought a tear to my eye, Brian. Two folks in love, up looking at the stars.
And all their money.
And all their, yeah. I mean, I honestly couldn't decide what to think. Part of me was like, wow, how on the nose. Well, if we have the criminal propose to the other criminal, it should be with a bag of cash because that's how they do it. But then part of me is like, yeah, but honestly, from what I know of Boyd and Ava, that's the way it would go down.
Yeah, I think it really, like, that performance really, I think the chick who played Ava did a really, really good job with it.
Yeah. I think they both did. Also, we're still looking for Drew Thompson, right?
I guess so. I don't know. They keep juking us out. They're like, well, is this guy Drew Thompson? No, we're looking at his...
I am the Spartacus.
Well, and it's like... we're looking through the opening scene. The cold open is them looking through high school photographs and be like, look at me, I was in wrestling. Oh, okay, well, keep that handy because someone else might think you're Drew Thompson. And it's like, I'm ready to meet Drew Thompson.
I mean, I guess the implication is that Ava and Boyd are going to go to this swingers party, and Drew Thompson's going to be there. So I'm certain that next week, Brian, we will finally meet Drew Thompson.
Great, I think. He's really important because there was a bag, I think. And
I'll be honest.
Arlo knows.
I'm right there with you on this season, where it's like I'm having a good time every episode because I like Raylan and I like Boyd and Ava, and it sure is fun to see them walk around and say snappy lines in their southern accents to each other. But I don't really understand what the arc is this season.
Yes, and I feel bad.
It has to do with Drew Thompson. I'm not dumb. They're supposed to find Drew Thompson.
Yes.
Because he's supposed to be dead, but he's not.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently, we assume he's not, because otherwise...
He's up in a holler, but not that holler.
Nor this other holler. Also, I love the fact that there's Josiah with his foot missing, and the only thing he can keep shouting is like, by the way, I'm not Drew Thompson.
Just so you
Just
know.
in case you were wondering, viewers.
Drew Thompson's not me.
Although I'll tell you this much. I mean... this is a feast of information on Justified compared to what to Westworld. I have a much clearer sense of where things are going in Justified. Very excited to meet good old D-Dog.
Yeah, next week the episode will be called Money Trap, which is obviously where they trap Drew Thompson and all of his money.
They cover him in honey, and they have him roll around in one of those wind machines that has bills flying around in it. He goes, "I'm the money trap. I'm Drew Thompson."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the kind of thing we expect from Justified. So there you go, folks. Thank you for watching, listening, and supporting us on Patreon. You guys are the best. Brian, you get the last word.
Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.